Melody's Shari and Martell Holt has taken over social media again, with fresh rumors linking Melody and actor Hill Harper. The internet is full of speculation, with people asking if Melody hinted that Hill could possibly be the father of her baby. This has caused a wave of reactions across platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and blogs, where users are analyzing old videos, timelines, outfits, and every small detail to try to understand what is really going on. In the middle of all this attention, Martell appears to be struggling emotionally, with reports suggesting he has not been himself, posting emotional content online, missing time with his children, and dealing with private stress. Much of this reaction is tied to his long and complicated history with Melody. On Love and Marriage, Huntsville, they once appeared to be a strong couple with success, family, and shared goals, but behind the scenes, their relationship was deeply affected by Martell's long-term cheating, which eventually became public and led to a painful breakup. Melody chose to move forward, filing for divorce and rebuilding her life, focusing on her children, career, and personal growth, eventually becoming stronger and more independent. Martell, however, seemed to struggle with moving on, often showing signs that he was still emotionally affected by the past, especially whenever Melody was mentioned or discussed publicly. Later, attention shifted when Melody was seen spending time with Hill Harper at public events and community gatherings. At first, people assumed it was casual, but over time, their interactions appeared closer, especially when Melody shared moments suggesting trust and comfort, including Hill being around her children and her speaking positively about his support. This led fans to speculate that their connection might be more than friendship. The rumors intensified further when Melody's friend was seen buying baby items in Atlanta, which sparked pregnancy speculation online. Even though there was no confirmation, the timing led people to connect the dots and involve Hill Harper in the conversation. As the rumor spread, Martell's reactions also drew attention, with reports of emotional behavior, social media posts hinting at betrayal, and signs of frustration, even though he never directly confirmed the claims being made online. Eventually, Melody addressed everything herself during an Instagram Live, clearly stating that she is not pregnant and explaining that she is simply focusing on living her life. She also clarified that her relationship with Hill Harper is currently just friendship, while emphasizing that Martell's emotions are no longer her responsibility. In the end, the pregnancy rumor was shut down, and what remained was a bigger picture of Melody's personal growth, healing, and focus on peace, as she continues moving forward in a new chapter of her life, while fans continue to wonder whether her connection with Hill Harper could develop into something more in the future. As the situation continues to settle, Melody's focus appears to remain on her peace and personal stability rather than the ongoing noise online. Instead of responding to every rumor or reacting to speculation, she has taken a more private and controlled approach, only speaking when necessary and otherwise allowing her actions to reflect where she is in life. People close to her suggest she is prioritizing her work, her children, and her emotional well-being, choosing not to be pulled back into old conflicts or public arguments. Meanwhile, the public conversation around Martell, Melody, and Hill Harper hasn't fully slowed down, but it has shifted slightly. Some people are now questioning how much of what they see online is reality versus interpretation, especially after Melody directly denied the pregnancy rumor. Still, fans continue to analyze every appearance and statement, showing how invested they remain in the history between Melody and Martell and any new chapter that may involve other people in her life. Martell's situation, on the other hand, remains emotionally complicated. Even without direct confirmation of many online claims, the perception of his reactions has kept him in the middle of ongoing discussions. His past with Melody continues to follow him publicly, and any new development involving her seems to bring back old emotions and unresolved tension. This cycle has made it difficult for him to fully step out of the narrative that surrounds their relationship. At the same time, the attention on Hill Harper has also grown, not because of anything he has said directly, but because of how often his name has been connected to Melody in online discussions. As a respected public figure, his involvement in the conversation has largely come from speculation rather than confirmed information, which has only fueled more curiosity and debate among fans trying to understand the true nature of their connection. In the end, the situation highlights how quickly social media can turn small moments into major stories, especially when public figures are involved. What started as simple interactions and observations has evolved into a large wave of assumptions, theories, and emotional reactions from all sides. For now, though, Melody has made her stance clear. She is focused on her life, her peace, and moving forward, regardless of the narratives being built around her. As things continue to unfold online, one of the biggest issues becomes how quickly narratives form without solid proof. A few small clips, a comment taken out of context, or even a social media appearance can easily turn into a full-blown storyline that spreads across platforms within hours. In this case, the combination of Melody's public presence, Hill Harper's visibility, and Martell's emotional history has created the perfect environment for constant speculation, even when there is no confirmed information to support the claims being made. Despite the noise, Melody's approach has remained noticeably different compared to the past. Instead of engaging in back-and-forth exchanges or trying to correct every assumption, she has leaned more into silence and selective communication. This shift has led many people to interpret her behavior as growth, suggesting that she is no longer interested in feeding drama or staying tied to situations that drain her emotionally. Whether people agree with the rumors or not, it's clear she is choosing distance from unnecessary conflict. On the other side, Martell's name continues to come up in connection with the situation, mainly because of his history with Melody rather than any direct involvement in the current rumors. For many viewers, their past relationship still acts as a reference point for understanding anything that happens between her and other people. This is part of why his reactions, whether confirmed or assumed, attract so much attention online. Even small emotional responses are often interpreted through the lens of his past mistakes and public breakup with Melody. Meanwhile, Hill Harper remains in a complicated position within the conversation, not because of his own actions, but because of how social media has placed him into the narrative. In reality, much of what is being discussed about him comes from assumptions rather than statements or confirmed events. Still, once a public figure becomes linked to a trending topic, it becomes difficult to separate fact from speculation, especially when audiences are actively searching for connections and meaning in every detail. As the discussions continue, the overall situation highlights a larger pattern in celebrity culture: the blending of personal history, public appearances, and online interpretation into a single ongoing storyline. Even when facts are clarified, the internet often continues to explore alternative versions of events, keeping conversations alive far longer than the original moment itself. For now, though, the clearest position remains Melody's own stance. She has denied the pregnancy rumors, addressed the speculation, and shifted her focus back to her life outside of public debate. Whether the conversations around her, Martell and Hill Harper fade or evolve into something new will depend less on confirmed reality and more on how audiences choose to interpret what they see next. As the conversation continues to grow online, one thing becomes even more clear. Public attention doesn't always move based on facts, but often on emotion, history, and interpretation. Even though Melody has already addressed the pregnancy rumor and clarified her current stance, the online discussion keeps circling back because audiences remain deeply invested in the personalities and the past dynamics involved. Over time, this kind of situation tends to create a cycle where every new appearance, post, or interaction is re-examined through the same lens. For Melody, that means even normal moments can be turned into speculation, while for Martell, it means his past continues to shape how people interpret his present behavior. No matter how much time passes, their history together still acts as the foundation for how the public reacts to anything connected to either of them. At the same time, it's important to note how quickly narratives can shift. One day the focus may be on a rumored relationship, and the next it may be on emotional reactions or old conflicts being revisited. In this environment, clarity often gets lost, and assumptions begin to carry as much weight as actual statements. That is part of why even confirmed denials don't always stop the conversation from continuing. For Hill Harper, the situation highlights how easily a person can become part of a story simply by being seen alongside someone else. Without making public statements or confirming any involvement beyond what has already been acknowledged, his name still remains attached to the discussion. This shows how social media often fills gaps in information with speculation, especially when a topic is already trending. As for Melody, her current direction suggests a clear effort to step away from that cycle. By limiting her responses and focusing on her personal life, she is essentially choosing not to engage with the constant interpretation of her actions. That approach doesn't stop the conversation, but it does change her role in it, from participant to observer of how her life is being discussed publicly. Martell's position remains more complicated due to his long-standing connection to the story being told online. Even when he is not directly involved in new developments, his past with Melody keeps his name attached to any ongoing narrative involving her. This ongoing association makes it difficult for the public conversation to fully separate old history from current events. Ultimately, the situation continues to reflect a larger reality of modern social media culture. Stories evolve quickly, facts and assumptions often blend together, and public figures frequently lose control over how their moments are interpreted. Even when clarity is provided, the discussion rarely ends immediately. It simply shifts, reshapes, and continues in a new direction. For now, what remains steady is Melody's stated position and focus. Everything else, the speculation, the interpretations, and the debates, continues to exist in the space created by audience curiosity rather than confirmed events. As the conversation continues to circulate online, the intensity of speculation shows no real sign of disappearing. Instead, it tends to evolve, with new angles being added as older ones are clarified or dismissed. Even though Melody has already addressed the pregnancy rumor directly, the broader discussion keeps expanding because people are not only reacting to current events, but also to the long-standing history between everyone involved. In many ways, this situation has become less about one specific claim and more about how audiences interpret relationships, history, and behavior over time. Melody's past with Martell continues to act as a reference point for how people view any new connection in her life, while Hill Harper's name remains part of the conversation simply due to association rather than confirmed involvement. This blending of past and present makes it difficult for the narrative to settle into anything concrete. At the same time, the emotional tone of the discussion around Martell reflects how deeply past relationships can remain in the public eye, especially when they were once highly visible. Even as time moves forward, the perception of unresolved feelings or reactions keeps him tied to ongoing conversations. Whether accurate or not, these interpretations continue to shape how audiences respond to him whenever his name reappears in connection with Melody. For Melody, however, the direction she appears to be taking suggests a continued effort to separate herself from that cycle entirely. By maintaining distance from speculation and focusing on her personal priorities, she is gradually removing herself from the reactive part of the public narrative. This doesn't eliminate discussion about her, but it does shift the dynamic. She is no longer actively participating in shaping the conversation around every rumor or assumption. Meanwhile, the role of social media in amplifying all of this remains central. Platforms that reward quick reactions, short clips, and emotional engagement naturally encourage theories to grow faster than verified information can keep up. As a result, even minor details can take on exaggerated meaning once they enter the public space, especially when tied to well-known figures. Ultimately, what continues to unfold is less about any single confirmed event and more about how modern audiences consume and reconstruct stories in real time. The line between fact, assumption, and interpretation becomes increasingly blurred, and once a narrative gains momentum, it often continues independently of whether it is accurate or not. For now, the only consistent element within the entire situation is Melody's stated position and her focus on moving forward. Everything surrounding it, the speculation, the emotional interpretations, and the ongoing debates, remains fluid, shaped more by public perception than by confirmed developments. As the situation continues to develop, the overall energy online shows no real sign of slowing down. Even with Melody clearly denying the pregnancy rumor and addressing the speculation directly, the conversation keeps resurfacing in different forms as new viewers discover the story and longtime fans revisit old moments. This constant replaying of past and present keeps the narrative active, even when no new confirmed information is added. Over time, the discussion